The Dolphins are staring down the 13th pick, and people are already trying to slap a label on it like it's a done deal. BetMGM tosses out minus 120 odds that Miami's going offensive line. Just like that, as if the script's already written. But let's slow down for a second. Since when has this team followed the safe bet? And more importantly, why would they start now? Yeah, the Dolphins have a long history of going big in the trenches. Offensive linemen? 12 in the first round. That ties with D-line picks. And sure, you've got your Austin Jackson in 2020, your Laramie Tunsil in 2016. But guess what? Just because you've done it before doesn't mean it worked out the way it was supposed to. Jackson's still a question mark. Tunsil? Gone. So maybe history doesn't know what it's talking about. Look at the current roster. 4 out of 5 starting spots on the offensive line are spoken for. Patrick Paul, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer, Austin Jackson. That leaves maybe a left tackle slot. Maybe. Depending on what happens with Terron Armstead. And even that's assuming they don't just slide someone over or shuffle guys around. So you're going to spend pick 13 on a maybe? On a guy who's going to ride the bench or play guard just to make the numbers work. But now flip it. Take a cold, hard look at the defensive line. You've got Zach Sealer. You've got Benito Jones. That's it. That's your interior. And then what? Hope. Good vibes. It's thin. Like emergency level thin. So if you're sitting at 13 and Kenneth Grant is staring at you, or Derek Harmon, or even Walter Nolan, do you blink? Do you gamble on need or take a luxury pick on the offensive side just because the odds said so? And let's not act like the secondary is all sunshine and roses either. Cornerback and safety? Holes everywhere. Big ones. Like sinkholes. Guys who left, guys who aged out, and not a lot of proven replacements. They need a starter at both spots. Not depth. Not potential. Starters. Now. So when Will Johnson or Jody Barron is still on the board, how are you passing on that? Malachi Starks, Nick Emanwari. Those names shouldn't just be in the conversation. They should be the conversation. Sure, the offensive line looks like this safe pick, but safety doesn't win playoff games. Balance does. Flexibility does. Addressing glaring needs does. And right now, trench help on defense and someone to lock down the back end feels a lot more valuable than another big body on the OL, especially if the top-tier ones are long gone by the time Miami's on the clock. Let's be honest, you don't draft based on what worked in 2016 or what happened in 2020. You draft based on this roster, this depth chart, this board. And as of right now, those betting lines, they're missing the full picture. Maybe they don't see the chaos brewing in the defensive front. Maybe they forgot what it looks like when this team gets picked apart in the secondary. Maybe they just like the idea of playing it safe. But the Dolphins don't have time for safe. They need impact. Now. So let's stick with the logic, right? BetMGM's got this offensive lineman at 13, narrative wrapped up in a bow. People see minus 120 and think it's inevitable. And look, it feels safe. It feels logical. But that feeling? It's a trap. Because when you actually peel it back, when you stop looking at mock drafts and start looking at Miami's actual situation, the OL pick stops making sense real quick. We're talking about a team that just limped out of another season where protection issues were a thing, sure, but not the main thing. Because the main problem? Depth falling apart. Starters getting shredded. Injuries doing what they always do in Miami. Showing up uninvited and wrecking the plan. But the fix for that isn't another rookie guard who gets thrown into the fire and melted. The fix is knowing where you're bleeding the worst. And right now, it ain't the offensive line. The big misconception is that the Dolphins are in desperate need of offensive line help because fans are scarred from years of inconsistent pass protection. But here's the truth they don't want to admit. It's not about starters anymore. It's about survival when the injuries start stacking. The front office went out and addressed it. Brewer, Daniels, Paul. Those aren't guesses. Those are players meant to hold the line. Not all pros, sure, but solid. And unless a blue-chip prospect magically falls into their lap, Campbell or Membu, it's not worth the reach. Let's talk about that word, reach. Because that's what we're looking at if Miami picks a guy like Tyler Booker or Kelvin Banks Jr. at 13. Not because they're bad, but because the fit, off. The value, shaky. And this team doesn't have the luxury to miss. Not in the first round. Not again. You want to spend a top 15 pick on a guy who might play guard? That's what this comes down to. Because Booker, he's not playing tackle in the NFL. Banks, maybe, but probably not on this team. The math doesn't add up. You're giving up a premium pick for a rotational lineman. Not exactly how you fix the kind of problems Miami's facing in 2025.